diabetes reversal expert, Dr. Michael Dansinger. Today, we knew this was coming, GLP-1s. So everyone who has type 2 diabetes, everyone who wants to lose a lot of weight, the doctors are promoting these GLP-1s. Well, it didn't take long for the food manufacturing companies to follow suit. And now a lot of these food manufacturing companies are starting to have GLP-1 friendly products. Before we get into a long list of questions submitted by warriors in our PAD Warrior Network at padsupportgroup.org, I want to open it up with you, Dr. Dansinger, to just give us some insight as to why these food manufacturers have any sort of leg to stand on. Get it? PAD leg to stand on. Terrible pun. When it comes to labeling their products with GLP-1 friendliness on them.
Okay, sure. This is going to be a great topic, Kim. I'm glad we get to talk about it today. There's lots of questions, a lot of confusion. Just to remind the audience, or just to acknowledge what many of us already know, is that these GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro, etc., um, are doing very well. Mainstream medicine has really embraced them. I have many patients who are on these medications because their doctors have prescribed them, and it affects the way you eat. And for people who sell food, who wouldn't want to jump on the bandwagon and figure out if they can help these people who are struggling to figure out their nutrition. So that's our starting point. But I will say, these drugs have benefited a lot of patients. I'm not against them in the right patient, but I've committed myself to helping people minimize the amount of medication they need through nutrition. So let's get into it.
For so many patients, nutrition is the biggest factor when it comes to reversing diabetes and improving artery health. And if you have questions for Dr. Danzinger, go ahead and put them in comments. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more great content like this. And if you have additional questions and you are located in New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Virginia, Minnesota, or Florida, and you have type 2 diabetes, Medicare and Medicare Advantage PPO plans, make sure you visit diabetesreversalexperts.com to take advantage of Dr. Danzinger's services. Okay, Dr. Danzinger, the first question comes from Mark. Mark says, I've noticed some of these GLP-1 meals have a long list of additives. This is what I also thought was most interesting. Lots of gums, isolates, starches, and such. Since my digestion has slowed down so much on the shots, should I be worried about those extra ingredients causing more bloating or discomfort?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let me start by saying I think we're going to see more and more of these GLP-1 friendly foods. And it's just GLP-1 friendly is just a marketing term that can mean just about anything. And so there's no law that's preventing anyone from slapping that on the box or the container or the packaging GLP-1 friendly. It's an unregulated term. Anyone can say anything. So if it has calories, you can probably put GLP-1 friendly on it and get away with it. But so it doesn't really mean anything special. I think, you know, people who are losing weight are, whether it's with GLP-1s or through, reducing calories or bariatric surgery, any kind of weight loss means that people are eating fewer calories. And you want to get your calories from healthy foods when you're losing weight. And one of those categories is protein. And so manufacturers who are trying to fill the gap and provide GLP-1 friendly are often emphasizing protein. And what you want is healthy proteins without a lot of animal fat, without a whole lot of other sodium additives, stuff you can't pronounce on the label. And so, what I really wish to see is for convenience, um, frozen meals or refrigerated meals that just have protein and vegetables. That's what I'd really like to see.
No fillers, no starches, no additives, no flavorings, no coloring, just pure wholesome ingredients,
Yeah,
right?
and the theme exactly, and the theme we'll be talking about this whole session really is the further you're getting away from just healthy protein and vegetables combined is going to be taking you further and further away from what you'd really like.
And we have Genia who's watching on our YouTube stream here, and she's saying always real ingredients, right? And make sure you read the ingredients, look at the labels. So important. And Elena is chiming in. I did share an article in the group where it did talk about the popularity of GLP-1 friendly labeling on frozen food products in particular. And so she says the article mentions that some of these friendly meals, like these sandwich melts, have almost 30% of my daily sodium and 7 grams of saturated fat. If I'm trying to manage my blood pressure while losing weight, are these actually a healthy choice or just clever marketing?
Yeah, clever marketing and or marketing not even so clever, right? And then yeah, a sandwich with cheese is getting pretty far away from what I'm saying, which is protein and vegetables.
Mm.
And so as soon as you start to add bread in there and cheese, it starts to take you further away. Those are that would be a very counterproductive thing to eat. I'm sure it tastes great and is filling and provides calories and a little bit of protein, but it's really, it's a shortcut that provides convenience but not good nutrition.
And many of you who are just tuning in right now, Dr. Dansinger is a wealth of information. He does have availability in certain states at diabetesreversalpartners.com. But of course, if you aren't in those states and you still need some extra nutritional help, as you know, our friend in the live studio audience, Douglas, is saying not everyone has access to it, Dr. Danzinger. You can always join us every single Monday for our live office hours with Dr. Danzinger, 12 to 12:30 Pacific time, 3 to 3:30 Eastern time, 2 to 2:30 Central time. And you can join our live studio audience by emailing us at info@padhelp.org, or you could just subscribe to our channels, Michael Danzinger, MD, or The Way to My Heart on YouTube. But our next question is coming in from Sarah. You did mention protein, the importance of protein a few moments ago. She says she struggles to get enough protein because her appetite with the GLP-1s is so limited. If a frozen meal has 20 grams of protein, but she can only finish half of it, is she better off just having a protein shake or something more nutrient dense?
Yeah, it's a good point. And so 20 grams of protein in a meal is about right. So that's pretty good. But the problem for many people is they get full quickly. And so you, the when we talk about healthy proteins, great choices can include fish or shellfish. Vegetarian proteins like tofu are a good example, and um, beans and legumes, and lean poultry and lean red meat or lean pork, etc. All those are good, and um, if you dilute the protein with starch, then you might fill up before you get adequate amounts of protein. And so, really reserve your calories and your appetite for protein and vegetables. And you want vegetables because of the fiber, because of the vitamins and minerals in there, all the things that make the vegetables colorful are good for the arteries. And so save your appetite and your calories for that. The problem I've seen with many people who are on GLP-1 drugs is they really find the starch and the sugar more appealing. I mean, there's always room for ice cream. And so people end up, I mean, isn't it sometimes when you're full, sometimes you can squeeze in a cookie or a dessert even though you're full, and that's because sugar is so easy on the taste buds. And so people who have low appetite end up getting tricked into eating unhealthy stuff instead of healthy.
Okay, David, he says he saw the new GLP-1 badges on food he already buys, but the article that I had shared with everyone says there is no formal regulatory definition for that label. You mentioned it in the beginning of this video as well. But he says, how can I tell if a brand is actually making a better product or if they just put a sticker on the same old diet food?
Right, right. Usually stickers on the same old, mediocre foods. So um, frozen dinners have been very challenging for food companies to make healthily. So I wish they could just put vegetables and protein and freeze it and have it ready to go. But usually there's all sorts of um, flavorings, stabilizers, things to sugar to make it more appealing to buyers, and all those added ingredients interfere. And so, what we're seeing is instead of reformulating something new, companies just slap a label on something that already exists. It's so easy to do that, and um, it's too expensive for many companies to make it right, and they cut corners by adding fillers, especially starch, which is a lot cheaper than protein and vegetables.
And we have Becky who's watching online and she says, "Hey, Dr. Dansinger, you've helped her a lot." Also, Jessica is posting a question here. She says the biggest issue she has on semaglutide, which is a GLP-1, Wegovy, is constipation. The dietitian in the article that I keep mentioning that I've shared, which I should put in the description of this video so people can read the article itself, but the dietitian in the article says I should aim for 28 to 32 grams of fiber a day, but most of these meals only have 3 to 6 grams. Do I need to be adding a side of veggies or something else to every single one of these frozen meals if I choose to partake?
Yep. Constipation is concerning. It is a side effect. You definitely want to go for the veggies and add that in there for sure. And veggies, most vegetables are a pretty good source of fiber. You do want to try to get at least 30 grams a day if you can, which is hard to do if you're not eating vegetables. And legumes like beans have a lot of fiber in them, greens have a good amount of fiber. And so, again, save your calories for healthy proteins and vegetables. What I really want to see people doing is making meals at home that are quick and easy. I'll give you an example. So, uh, uh, snow peas. So I saw, if you know what snow peas are, they look like pea pods and they're tender, and I just sauteed them in some olive oil in a skillet, and I added some frozen shrimp, and the vegetables and the shrimp cooked at the same time. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes, and I had a giant plate full of shrimp and pea pods, and it was delicious. I added a little bit of soy sauce, or you could just add salt and pepper, for example. And that is a quick, nutritious meal, protein and vegetables, a ton of food for low calories, and it was faster than thawing or even probably microwaving one of these frozen meals. And you can take any combination of protein, whether it's chicken breast or pork tenderloin, and you can cut it into pieces, stir fry it together with one or two kinds of vegetables, and have a quick, nutritious meal in less than 10 minutes.
I love that idea. That is absolutely brilliant. And you can get plain frozen shrimp, even, whether it's deveined or and deshelled, or you can get the ones with the shells. And I usually typically will just thaw out the portion that I want, and then I peel the shrimp before I cook them. I'm going to try that because you can also get frozen snow peas as well. And that would be easy. You can keep it in the freezer and cook it anytime. What a great idea. Thank you, Dr. Dansinger. Okay, we got another question coming in here, and I know we don't have a lot of time. Brian, the experts in the articles say don't buy anything with more than 5 ingredients, since most of these frozen meals have, get this, 20 to 30 ingredients once you count the sauces and the processed chicken. Are they really okay to eat a few times a week? I love the brilliance. I love these questions. They're so well thought out, and it shows that the patients are hip to the tricks.
Yeah, so most of these frozen meals do have, more than 20 ingredients in there. Many of them are, small amounts of additives and stabilizers and preservatives and so on. And um, those add up. It's not ideal. I mean, so as a general rule of thumb, the idea that if there's more than 5 ingredients or a lot of ingredients you can't pronounce, it's a general rule of thumb, right? I mean, a healthy salad might have eight, types of fruits and vegetables in there, and et cetera. So use common sense, but there's a lot of truth to the idea that, you know, foods that come, you know, food, foods that have a lot of weird sounding chemicals, they're not taking you in the right direction.
And Alan just chimed in and he says, I'm going to cook some snow peas and shrimp tomorrow night. So you're already inspiring, Dr. D. Also, Dorothy is writing in and she's like, oh my gosh, this is great information. Why don't our cardiologists tell us some of this? And she's like, is it because they just want to do procedures? What in the world? How is it that we're not getting this information that you're providing?
Yeah, it's an important question, and it's the question comes from the what we can all agree is the healthcare system in the United States is terribly broken in many ways, and one of those problems is that there aren't enough doctors helping people figure out how to decrease their medicines, and the medical system does not do a good enough job with prevention, and so cardiologists, most of them spend their time fixing a broken heart rather than preventing heart disease by spending time coaching nutrition and exercise and prevention. And so amputations is another example of it's a failure of the healthcare system to have helped a patient prevent rather than figuring out what to do in an emergency situation.
And we have Douglas that says it might be important at this juncture to just again explain GLP-1s and their purpose for those that are tuning in and may not be familiar. They might not have type 2 diabetes, or they might have it and have never seen a discussion about it.
Yeah, GLP-1 receptor agonists are medications that are have been mainly like a weekly injection that you take at home, and now we'll see more and more in pill form in the months and years ahead. And what these medications do is they reduce hunger and blood sugar, leading to improvements in diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and in weight related medical problems by reducing calories. And the medication itself um, uh, stimulates the, uh, the um, it affects the hormonal balance in the intestinal tract, and it decreases hunger and affects the way the intestinal tract is, regulating its digestive process. It causes side effects of, for some people, they lose too much weight too fast, or they get diarrhea or constipation or other gastrointestinal side effects. In my medical opinion, these are the best weight loss and diabetes drugs ever invented, but they're not without their problems. And so they've helped a lot of people, but many people have discontinued them because of gastrointestinal and other side effects. And many people just don't want to treat, they want to address the root cause of their diabetes and their weight by adopting a healthier lifestyle if possible, rather than use the medications. And so it's nice that we live in a place with multiple options.
And we've talked prior on this show, and people can go to Michael Dansinger MD on YouTube or The Way to My Heart and look up previous episodes of Ask Dr. Danzinger to find out more, to learn more. But we've talked about the complication arising from these GLP-1s, being the gastrointestinal and gastro problems. And we discussed it's just that people are not curbing their diet, right? As they're eating, as they're taking these drugs, and you need to curb your diet. If you're less hungry, you need to eat less. And that's really important. But we do have another question coming in about beets. Actually, two questions. We have one from Douglas and another one from Sherry. Are beet powders a good way to get nitric oxide, which you would imagine that's beets?
Yeah, so the reason people are interested in nitric oxide and beets, which are a dietary source of nitric oxide, is because nitric oxide is a naturally occurring chemical that um, helps with artery health, and it helps dilate the blood vessels. It does not last very long in the system. And so people are interested in using beet powder to try to improve their blood vessel health. And so could use more research about this, but I would generally favor eating beets rather than using beet powder. But beets can be tricky to eat. I mean, some people, they require you got to peel them and roast them, or you can just buy them in the jar. And some people are concerned about the amount of sugar and starch in beets, but uh, overall, for most people with diabetes or PAD or cardiovascular disease or risk for that, eating beets either in any form is a good thing. And beet powder, I don't have very strong feelings about it. You want to try to get your nutrition through whole foods. So it's a great question about beets. Though, if you ask different people about beets, you'll find different answers. But the people who are most enthusiastic about beet powder are the people who are selling beet powder.
Well, go figure. Come on, Dr. Danziger. Would you expect anything less? Okay, Linda has a question. Some of these meals are only 200 to 300 calories. If I'm supposed to hit at least 1,000 calories a day to stay healthy on these meds, is relying on these small frozen portions going to lead to malnutrition over time?
So it's a great question. Um, 300 calories in a meal is not unreasonable, but people generally eat more calories than they think they are. And so for most people who think they're eating about 1,000 calories are probably in actuality eating more like 1,500 calories. And so what we usually see is people losing muscle mass because they're not lifting weights or doing resistance training. And so you do want to get enough dietary protein, you do want to get enough vegetables, you do want to lift weights. And so I think those are the priority. People are typically getting enough calories even when they're on GLP-1 drugs. I think the problem is we are concerned about losing muscle mass. And so protein and vegetables and exercise is really the main antidote for that issue. It's a great question.
Karen says she gets nauseated if she eats anything too heavy now. Are there specific ingredients in these GLP-1 friendly processed foods, like oils or the thickeners, that she should watch out for to keep her stomach settled? And you did address this a little bit earlier, but I always like to, even if it's duplicated in terms of content. I want to honor the specific question to the specific patient who submitted it.
Right. Well, I do worry about a lot of sodium in these meals, which can cause fluid retention and bloating, and it's not good for high blood people with high blood pressure either. For people who have constipation, I do worry if there's a lot of cheese or dairy in a meal because um, cheese, yogurt, a lot of dairy can contribute to constipation because the casein in the dairy. And then just when there's a long list of ingredients, who knows what's going on with those? And I think I worry about them, all adding up in some weird combination that is just starting to have negative effects on the intestinal bacteria. And so, um, again,
Okay.
natural foods.
So we have Gary, a little bit of a duplicate in terms of protein, but you can't emphasize protein too much. The article, he says, suggests that a gold standard is about 10 grams of protein per 100 calories. He wants to know if he should be carrying around a calculator to the freezer aisle, or is there a faster way to tell if a meal is actually helping him to maintain muscle?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would not, I would just ignore that. It's too complicated. It doesn't resonate the formula like that. I think what does resonate for people is when you're eating protein, stick to something that's around the size of your palm in terms of diameter and thickness. It should be lean, not fatty. And if you don't want to eat it all in one serving, you can, you know, put it in portions and eat later. And so when you start to wonder if you should carry around a calculator, you it's you're making a good point about it shouldn't have to be that hard to figure out how to eat healthily in this world. And people you know there's a lot of stuff on the internet that seems conflicting or counterintuitive, or like someone's saying it to try to trick you out of your money, and it's a shame. It's a price we pay for freedom. it, you want to get your nutrition advice from someone who actually has a lot of information about it, someone who is truly has your health in mind, someone who's not um, has a conflict of interest because they're trying to, you know, sell something to you. It's hard to find people like that. So I sympathize.
Okay, we have a couple more questions coming in here. We'll try and do a speed round. And Becky, since she absolutely adores you, Dr. Dansinger, here, we got to get in her question. She says, okay, I should have the same grams of protein as weight, question mark, or a specific amount daily, meaning if I'm 150 pounds, do I have 150 grams of protein for the day or just 50 grams for the day, not based on weight? I'm a little confused. Can you help?
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion about there. I might have contributed to some of that confusion. So you want at least a minimum amount of protein. I would say 1 gram per kilogram. And you want no more than a maximum, which is 1 gram per pound. So it's hard to know how much protein is okay, but the human body can accommodate a very wide range of protein. So I'll repeat this guideline. If you want to try to figure out get at least one gram per kilogram, but no more than 1 gram per pound. So that'll require a calculator and a conversion. There's 2.2 kilograms or 2.2 pounds in a kilogram. But um, you know, if you use your palm that and do that like twice a day, I think that'll get you to where you need to be. The human body generally knows how much protein to eat.
And that's what I normally do. I just use my palm because if I'm serving myself and I'm serving my dad, of course, my palm is going to be smaller. So for my body, of course, it's going to be a more appropriate size here. But then my dad's is twice the size. So of course, his amount of protein he's going to consume is going to be more. So that makes sense. But one more question, really quick, before you get back to your clinic to help patients. Again, if you want to be one of Dr. Dansinger's patients, go to diabetesreversalpartners.com. If you have Medicare, Medicare Advantage plans, PPO, in New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Virginia, or Florida, make sure to go to Diabetes Reversal Partners for that. But final question is from Michelle. Since I'm eating such small amounts with her GLP-1s, the registered dietitian she sees mentioned that she might be missing out on some micronutrients. So if she's using frozen meals, such as the ones that say GLP-1 friendly, just for convenience sake, should she be supplementing with extra vitamins, or is it better just to stick with the whole food snacks like Greek yogurt and berries?
Yeah, get your vitamins from, great question. Get your vitamins from food if you can. I think a multivitamin tablet is okay. I think it's, harmless in many cases for people who aren't eating properly. There's a role for, like a multivitamin, but in today's, supermarkets filled with gorgeous fruits and vegetables and healthy proteins, it should be easy enough for people to get all the nutrition they need just from a decent supermarket if you fill your cart with the right stuff. Fill your cart with things that have one ingredient and use those foods to make delicious, healthy meals at home.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Danzinger. And make sure you do like this video, subscribe to our channels, youtube.com/ the at sign, the little thing that goes like this. Michael Danzinger, MD, also youtube.com/ the the way to my heart. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you want to join our live studio audience for office hours every single Monday, make sure you do email info at